Hello, welcome to Somerset News Network. A group of YouTubers, citizen journalists, have got together and they've got something called the Pledge. And they all want you to sign up to the Pledge. Now, I'm not against it. They want to reaffirm our constitutional rights. I'm all for that. But all they've done is link it to the Magna Carta. When you have a look at the Magna Carta online, it's on the government website, it's all been repealed. There's only one or two clauses left. First thing we've got to do is reaffirm the Magna Carta. Now that was done in 1297. Now we have to reaffirm the Magna Carta of all its parts. And there's a confirmation of Liberties of 1297 that reaffirms the Magna Carta. Now, although the original 1215 parts were repealed, we have to prove that they were removed illegally. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. You know, maybe a barrack room lawyer, if you want to call me that. But it would need looking at. But my argument with this whole thing of signing the pledge is you really ought to start looking at the other acts of the Constitution. Now, they tell us we haven't got a Constitution. Well, no, we haven't got an act that says the Constitution. Our Constitution is made up of a number of acts of Parliament over hundreds of years. Obviously, the first one is the Magna Carta. Now, I think that the Magna Carta was to reaffirm the common law right that was done by Alfred the Great. He went round the country and got all the common law together. Now, as I said, the pledge wants you to sign it linked to the Magna Carta. Magna Carta was in 1215. It was signed at Runnymede. But it was said that King John was forced to sign it by the barons. So in 1297 they reaffirmed the charter, what they called the Great Charter, the Magna Carta. Now there's other acts that have got to be added on to our Constitution. Now what I'm hoping to do when I got the time is to put all the old acts into a PDF and put it onto the Somerset News Network channel as a file, and you can just download it and read it yourself. The trick is seeing how an Act of Parliament would play in today's law and the way we work, which is my expertise. My expertise was with the Countryside and Wildlife Act and the Firearms Act. And I was in the civil service for 6 years. And they found I could read an act and understand how that would apply in practice. I was working with government lawyers and they were asking for my advice. And working with the government lawyers, they were teaching me a little bit about how the law works and what you do and how you read it. And that gave me an understanding of the Countryside Act and the Firearms Act and how they work together. Apply the principles that I found out as a civil servant. I was only a civil servant for 6 years, but it was an insight. It was like working in an episode of Yes Minister some days. Stories I could tell you. But covered by the Confidentiality Act, I'm afraid. Uh, some of them, some of the stories I could tell you. I'm not going to do it here. Right. You have liberties, charters, and statutes confirmed. That was 1405. You have confirmation of liberties, 1423. Then you got the big one, the Bill of Rights, 1689. Now, why aren't the people who have got you to sign the pledge talking about the Bill of Rights as well as the Magna Carta? They're all part of our Constitution. You know, the liberties of the subject of 1354 is where we get the saying due process of law from. And the Act of 1700, the Act of Settlement, the last clause in the Act says the laws of England are the birthright of the people. So the Magna Carta, the confirmation of the Liberties Acts that I've just mentioned, and the Bill of Rights are all our birthright. And the people that want you to sign the pledge haven't said anything about this. If you were going to sign the pledge, yes, do it. I got no problems with that. But I just wish that they would talk about the whole Constitution, not just one little bit of it. Anyway, that's my little insight into what I found out. It took me years to find out all these little acts of Parliament. Like I said, I was in the civil service. I had the law library in a corner of our library. And I used to go in there lunch times and look through these old law books. And there was one book there with all the acts of Parliament listed. Because the internet was only just starting then. And I found out all the ones that were in bold were still on the statute book. And all the acts of Parliament had been listed. And that's where I found them. Then I had to find copies of them. Well, then we got the internet and we started searching and I found them all. I then wrote to the Speaker of the House of Commons and I listed all these acts of Parliament and I said, are they current and still the law? And the Speaker wrote back to me and said, yes. That's all I needed to know. So what I'm talking about is the law. And it's ours. And the laws of England are the birthright of the people. And I would just wish the people that want all this pledge signed would start talking about it. I keep on about the Bill of Rights and the right of free speech. It's there for all of us to read. It needs to be upheld and we need to talk about it. So I do. Right, Ian, Somerset News Network, signing off. Bye-bye.